My name is Aaron Scamihorn. It's spelled Aaron Scamihorn. I am a serigraph artist, a gig poster artist, screen printer, graphic artist. Serigraph is the technical term for screen printing, silk screening. It's called 100 different things, but the realm that I'm moving towards is more of trying to make it more into a fine art and keeping it away from just the term silk screen. The beauty of creating stuff on the computer is that it's always there and you have this asset to apply to whatever it needs to be. So I've had this backlog of illustrations and art that I've created that hasn't necessarily found a home yet, whether it was something I just really wanted to illustrate, this cool face or this old vintage stereo. It sits there and hasn't really found like the right home. And so when Cake first became an opportunity, it was through MOKB and Live Nation. They knew they were coming into town. They needed some art for their ad mats as well as their poster and advertising. They put me in touch straight with the manager because there was 2 promoters working on it. There was too many cooks in the kitchen. They said, hey, just go and deal straight with the manager. And Tommy Manzi from Cake, just super cool guy, but he wanted to see an image before he really signed off and said, hey, let's do this, let's make this investment and go for it. So I had this old image that I'd done for the very first Cake poster. That illustration was probably about 4 years old and it never really found its home, but it was just a girl's face and just had it was extremely inspiring. It was just a striking face, that's the emotion in it and yet the emotionlessness in it. And so it was sitting there waiting for the right application. And when that opportunity came up, I think I knocked out the poster in probably about a half an hour. So that was the first one, and it went extremely well. The show sold out. The prints flew off the shelves. They're sold out now. And just out of the blue, Tommy emailed me again and wanted to do another poster because they had a show coming up in Portland, just outside of Portland. It's in Troutdale, Oregon. Again, it was an opportunity where, hey, we need to see art. The show's coming up. Obviously need to get the ball rolling if we're going to do a gig poster. And had this old vintage stereo that I'd illustrated that was in the backlogs, and it just had that perfect vibe for them as well. It's kind of vintage, it's kind of unique, and really seemed to speak to them and their music, I think. I was just talking to my boss yesterday. He was giving me a hard time about not being super meticulous with giant grid systems and expansive websites that are hundreds of pages, just so meticulous. And he said, it surprises me that you're into screen printing so much because it seems like it's a very meticulous and process that requires a lot of detail, attention. And I said, when a file corrupts on your computer and you lose something, it's gone. You're done. And if there's a mistake on a design on a computer, it's a mistake. And it looks like a mistake, and it's a mistake, and it's there. Whereas if you still have the file, you can go back and edit it and change it and whatnot. The nature of what I do, if ink starts bleeding through in a spot, there's a specific step to do to fix that, to get it to be more crisp. There's that reward of being able to physically get in there and change it and make it something different. Whereas at the same time, that imperfection is what makes this process and is what makes it different than printing it off digitally. Those subtle imperfections are what proves that it is a screen print, that proves that it wasn't just output by a giant machine. When stuff bleeds out and you can see the direction of the pull of the squeegee, it shows that it was pulled by a human by hand. I've worked in the computer as a professional graphic artist, web designer for about 8 years now, and those tools are extremely effective in making an image as quickly as possible and refining it to the cleanest way you possibly can. But the hand-printed portion of it is my way to get outside of that sitting at the desk all day, my way to have the tactile satisfaction of being able to get something outside of that computer and be able to hold it. There's just a different level of appreciation and satisfaction that comes from being able to get it outside of that. I think there's a shift in people's appreciation of what they're consuming. It always kind of shifted with the technology that was available. As soon as digital stuff became extremely effective and extremely fast, and it looked extremely crisp, it was a huge shift in that direction to where if you're going to output a poster, you want it to be glossy and you want it to be shiny and crisp and be able to be photorealistic and all that stuff. Of course, things are going to shift in that direction because it's new and it's fresh. Whereas it's been that way for so long that it's kind of shifting back towards people appreciating more of that tactile and just there's so much more real and handcrafted nature to it. The fact that the ink is raised up off the surface, there's inconsistencies in the print. Just the natural texture of ink being pushed through mesh is going to create a texture as well as something that is not accomplishable in any other method. My wife, Amy Jo, is my quality control manager. She, after I'll pull the screen down and pull the ink across the paper, she pulls it off and throws it on the drying rack for me. And in that time that she has to look at it in between those two steps, she'll check for those tiny little things that can happen, like a pinhole can be opened up in your emulsion. You'll have a little dot of ink coming through, or the screen might have shifted slightly and the registration is off, so that layer's not lined up with the layer that's under it. So she catches those little things and stops me before I ruin 10. So it's 1 or 2 that get messed up rather than a huge batch of them. If I was down here doing it by myself, not only would it take twice as long, but about half of them would probably not be the best when I went to go sign and number them. So she's really the brains behind the business. By the time a gig poster run is finished, I've looked at the exact same image hundreds and hundreds of times because I start with the illustration on the computer, and it's a good 5 to 10 hours to 15 to 20, whatever it takes to get it down and right and approved by the band and or whoever is involved there with making that decision. So this cake run, I printed 320, so a total of 4 colors. It's over 1,200, whatever that ends up being, seeing that exact same image. So by the time that the print's completely finished and ready to ship off to wherever it's going, I'm pretty sick of looking at it. But at the same time, there's this rewarding moment of like, it's done, it's ready, and you know that the next step is to get that that great emotional connection with someone where they get to see it for the first time and they buy one, take it home with them. It's extremely satisfying when someone sees it for the first time and gets to hold it and touch it.